Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. That was all the energy that I could muster, but it sounded pretty authentic. I am back. This is Wendy, your handy camera person, and just waiting for Steve. He's real slow coming in today with Mr. Roboto. That's hilarious.
How's everybody doing today? It's so good to see you on this chilly, brisk Monday. Zoo EDventures here. Happy to see you guys. Steve in front of the camera. You already seen Wendy?
Hello.
Awesome to have Wendy back. It was nice to have Leslie here helping us last week. It's also cool that people are willing to help out and share what is needed. I hope you had a great time while you were away.
I did. I still worked a little, but yeah. I did have a good time.
Good. Well, we missed you, for sure.
Thank you.
Something new.
Yeah, your robot-looking face mask. It's kind of cool, though, because I can actually see your face and your smile.
Can you see this? Is it working? I hope it's working for you guys. If you guys like it, give it a thumbs up, give it a heart, give it a something.
We're testing it out.
Now, I do need to tell you, it's a little bit difficult for me to talk because it's not quite big enough. It's not quite tall enough. So I'm going to use it as long as I can, hopefully the whole event. But I do have one of my other masks back here. If it just doesn't work for me in doing the presentation, I hope it works for you guys. If it's not working for the presentation, we'll look at still another option. But we've heard from you that people are wanting to see this, so we're trying something new. We've tried another one a long time ago, and it was way too small. This is the next one that's a little bit bigger. So hopefully this works for you all. So today, October 5th.
How is it October already, Steve?
See, Wendy, it's in the course of a year, you go through 12 months.
Well, I know like the
September,
Earth and the axis and all that stuff, but wasn't it just March like a week ago? It feels
was
like
March
it.
67 episodes ago.
Yes.
That's when it was March. So yeah, October 5th. If you guys didn't notice, the governor put us into the third phase on Friday. It has not impacted the zoo at this time. What some of those changes might be, we're not sure, but it's going to take time to implement any of those changes at the zoo itself. The hope is that some of the inside buildings will get opened up at least to a certain percentage. However, shout out to the Kidzone team. They were given days to prep, and as you guys heard on Monday, it's open today, open and doing great. 50 people, what is it, 50? Is that?
Yeah, you're backwards in the camera, so there you go. There's a 5.
So 50 people max. We haven't had too many problems with that yet. So Kidzone is open, again, at a reduced number. Just for social distancing, guys. Just to keep people safe. That's what all this is about, right? Keeping you safe, keeping our staff safe, and still continuing to think about our animals and keeping them safe as well. So that's what's going on. Even though the state has gone to phase 3, it'll take the zoo time to kind of ramp up. Watch the website and watch social media. The website nczoo.org. And watch all the social medias. As soon as the decision is made, you can bet it'll be put on there. Anything else we need to talk about before we talk about these critters?
Yes, we need to make sure everybody watching, you'll see some links coming up in the comments.
Oh.
Do not click on those links. You only click on a link if it comes from the North Carolina Zoo, but do not click on those links. We are working on that. I am assuming behind the scenes right now. Just please do not click on those links.
Yeah, I know for sure they're working on it. They're trying to block them as they can. We're still going back on later and answering your questions. I hope we got most of your questions from Polar Bear the other day. We're still going back on answering those questions as we can. So yeah, go ahead and shout out those questions. I'm sure we have some people right now that are behind the scenes. For those of you that are, thank you very much for being there. One of our social media folks was on here last week.
Yeah.
And they were blocking as they could. It was nice. It was awesome to have Mariah helping out with that. If you were here last week, when we did our live, we had no idea that was going on. So apologies for having that abrupt cut last time, because we had just gotten into alligator, and they said, we need to put a nip on this. So apologies for the abrupt cut on Monday. Wanted to give you guys a shout out for that. But thanks for coming back on Wednesday to see polar bear. That was an awesome experience.
Yeah, and if you haven't, check it out. We go behind the scenes, but we go in the habitat where the polar bears are. Not with the polar bears, because neither one of us would be standing here today if that happened.
No way.
But it's so awesome to see it from the polar bear's perspective and the keeper's perspective.
And we mentioned it's so much bigger. It feels bigger.
Yeah.
When you're inside the space and when you look at it, and it looks like it's a big space. But when you're in it, it's like, whoa. And if you did see it, you heard about that wish list.
On Amazon.
The enrichment wish list from Society. So some really cool stuff. You can go on Amazon, you go through our society, nczoo.com. You can go on there, and a link might come up. I'm not 100% sure right now, because we've got a lot of things going on at the zoo today. But nczoo.com is our society, and you can find a link to the Amazon wish list. If that's a little bit too complicated, you can still give donations to this program, to this episode. I believe the donation button is up right now. You can click that. And all those funds stay at the zoo.
And I'll go in when we're done today doing this live, and I'll put that Amazon link in this video and in the polar bear video.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because you can go on Amazon, click that link, and you can pick the toys or the items that the zookeepers have picked out for the animal. You'll know which animal it's for. And you can buy those. Some are as inexpensive as $2 and up. So you can buy something for the polar bear. You could buy something for the lions. It's a really awesome opportunity.
It is really cool. So either way, go through the zoo, and as Wendy just said, thank you very much for that, Wendy. She'll go back on later on and put the link on, so you guys can always come back and check on the Facebook page. Or the money that you can donate to this right now is still going to stay in the zoo.
Yeah.
To be used in the park. So, and thank you guys so much for those of you who donated recently, weeks ago, months ago. You've made such a big difference. I did some math over the weekend. I'm a nerd. I love math and numbers. $4,207 our digital guests through Zoo EDventures alone have made over the past several months. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This is wonderful.
That's awesome. Okay, is that it?
It's enough for our Monday morning announcements.
Ding ding! All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today is all about amphibians. We have a couple animal guests to share with you, but I want to really do, why are they important? What are they, and why are they important? So we have some things to share with you back here about kind of what's going on. But first, what makes an amphibian an amphibian? We talked a little bit about reptiles the other day, on Monday, but what makes an amphibian an amphibian? Not all, don't say 2 eyes.
Yeah, because I have 2 eyes,
Yes,
and
you
I'm
do.
definitely not an amphibian.
Fish have 2 eyes.
Yeah.
But what's making an amphibian? So I'm going to ask you to think a little bit deeper. I'm asking, somebody's waving at me, hi bro. So think a little bit deeper. What makes an amphibian an amphibian? What makes a salamander, this isn't real, what makes a salamander or a frog or a toad an amphibian?
Well, my dad's watching. Hi, Dad.
Hey, nice to see you.
Your mom's
Thanks.
watching.
Thanks, Mom. Hey. Wendy's dad. Thanks for letting us borrow Wendy for a while. So what makes an amphibian an amphibian? Yeah, they have 2 eyes. Yeah, they have legs. Got a tail. Any ideas?
Haven't seen any in the comments yet. Give me a comment if you know.
It's kind of strange because you go, I know exactly what a salamander is. Sort of. So all amphibians are ectotherms. We learned that word on Monday. Ectothermic. Their temperature is regulated by the air around them or the water around them. But reptiles and fish are too. One of the amazing distinguishing characteristics of an amphibian has to do with their skin. their skin. It's moist. It's always wet in some way. And permeable. Permeable. That means air and water can pass through it in both directions.
That's really cool.
So they're respiring, they're breathing through their skin, and they're taking up water and sometimes releasing water through their skin.
So they breathe through their skin.
Yes. And they kind of drink.
That's really interesting to think about because we think of breathing as lungs.
Yep.
Or gills like a fish.
Breathing.
Yeah, or like gills on a fish. We think of that, but it's weird to think that they breathe through their entire skin, all over their body.
So that's one of the most defining characteristics of an amphibian. They have moist, permeable, and scaleless, no scales, no hair, no fur, no feathers, skin. Right?
So cool.
That is so neat. I need you to keep that in mind because a little bit later, we're going to talk about some of the challenges to amphibians, and a lot of it comes back to that permeable skin. So yeah, kind of a big deal. So having a permeable skin is really important. So that makes an amphibian an amphibian. Many amphibians lay eggs. Salamanders, frogs. Oh, that's it. Should tell you that. The types of amphibians, we have frogs and toads. We have salamanders and newts. And we have caecilians, not with an S.
Wait a minute. I'm Italian on my dad's side, but you mean Sicilians are amphibians?
They are. Sicilians are amphibians.
We might need to show them what we're talking about.
Not the people from Sicily.
All right. Dad, we're not salamanders.
You are not salamanders. Check this out. This is an image of a Sicilian. I'm going to get out of the way so you guys can see it a little better.
Wow.
In amphibian world, there's over 8,200 species. Over 8,200 species of amphibians. And more are being discovered every year, which is exciting. The huge bulk are frogs and toads. Over 7,200 are frogs and toads.
The beautiful chorus we hear at night in the spring and summer.
The harbingers of spring.
Yes.
Little over 700 species are salamanders or newts. And believe it or not, guys, there's over 200 of these. These are legless amphibians, and many have a venomous bite.
What?
Right. Many Sicilians have a venomous bite. This is a carnivore. He's a predator.
That's a carnivore?
This worm-like Sicilian is a predator. They can be short, they can be long. They live all over the place. But they're very secretive. They're burrowers, as you might imagine. So Sicilians. And you can see how it's spelled up there.
I would have lost that at the spelling bee in 5th grade if that was my... Yeah, I would have definitely lost that one.
So how cool is that? So, when we talk about amphibian world, we met the Sicilians. I have a very simple image, talk about the differences between frogs and toads. Did you know they're different? They're distinctly different.
I had to take a class to learn about it, and I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot more than I ever thought I'd learn.
Yeah, and it's kind of, once you see it, you go, oh, duh. This is a pretty simple graphic. I do have a frog, or a toad, to share with you in a little bit. I'll be sharing a toad with you in a little bit. But this is an image, these are 2 images, and they're just stick drawings of a frog and a toad. But it really begins to show you the difference between frogs and toads. Frogs have those long, jumping legs. Frogs are jumpers. Frogs are jumpers. They can jump high, they can jump far, where toads are more hoppers. little small hops or walkers even. What I brought is a toad who's more of a small hopper. You can look at their skin, and you can kind of get the idea that on the frog it's smooth and always moist and slimy. But the toad's skin is a little more dry and a little bit more warty. Can you get warts from touching a toad? Can you get warts from touching a toad? Before you guess. Nope. That's a myth. Should you wash your hands after touching a toad, or frog,
Yes, for sure.
or horse, or goat, or dog? But many toads are poisonous. Many toads are poisonous. A lot of times there's a poison gland right behind the eye. Many toads have a very strong toxin. It's called a bufo or toad toxin. You don't see it as much in the frogs. More terrestrial is the toad. Frogs can be arboreal because they can jump. They're small, they can hide, they're more camouflaged in their environment. The eyes of the frog are a little more buggy, where the toad's eyes are a little bit closer to the kind of more flat on the head. And I don't think that's neat. Frogs have teeth. Toads do not. Now they're tiny little teeth. But for some frogs, not all, some frogs have teeth, toads do not. So there's a lot of differences when we start getting into it. It's kind of like the turtles and the tortoises. We learned about those guys. We kind of use the term the same way all the time. But over time, you go, oh, there's actually a difference between them. So that's kind of neat. You can see it well in the skeleton, too.
I like the skeletons. These
There's
are
the
really
skeleton
cool.
of a frog.
Look at those legs.
It gives you an idea. This is a jumper, right? This is a jumper. What kind of frog is this? I think it's a leopard frog. This is probably a real skeleton, something that we were able to purchase. And I don't know if your camera will pick those teeth up or not. Will you? Can you see those teeth at all? In the very front of the top jaw.
Give me 1 second. Little bit.
So there's those teeth. As a hunter, needs those sometimes. So that's a hump jumper. This is a walker or a small hopper.
Or when we're 20, when we're 40.
Like active, I'm jumping.
Yeah,
crazy.
and not so much.
Yeah, good point.
That body structure is very different.
Yep. It's thicker, it's more bulky.
Very thick. Yeah, it's definitely robust.
A little more burly. You can
Yes.
see maybe in the frog, it gives you the idea that he is more arboreal sometimes.
Those toes on both of them, though,
Yep.
they are really long.
So I thought that was kind of fun to share. The difference between frogs and toads. Because it's actually, once you start thinking about it, once you start seeing it, once you start studying it and getting into it a little more, you go, well, yeah, there's a difference. Lifestyle, the way they lay their eggs, chains versus clumps, chains versus clumps. You guys want to meet one?
Yes.
Shall we meet a toad?
Yay. While
Go ahead.
Steve gets our friend out, we are actually coming to you from a new area at the zoo that we haven't brought you to before. This is our Kidzone Building.
Mm-hmm.
We do some programs, Scout Badge programs, obviously not right now because of COVID, but we do Scout Badge programs, some birthday parties. So once things sort of get back to the normal or the new normal, you
That is
can,
gonna happen, right?
yeah,
That is gonna happen, right?
you can sign up for those types of things here at the zoo.
So, putting gloves on,
Well, why are you doing that, Steve?
what did we say about their skin? Do you remember?
It's slimy and it's moist.
What's that P word? Starts with a P.
Oh,
There
permeable.
you go. Since their skin is permeable, any lotions or salts or shampoos,
or
soaps,
Pop-Tart.
or
I know you love cinnamon Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tart, any material on my hand can be taken up, especially the liquid, the water, can be taken up through the skin. And I'm going to put a special water on my hands. This is called RO water, reverse osmosis. It's just taking a lot of the bad stuff out. So I spray that on his gloves, so I'm not using tap water much, which might have chlorine in it, which might have other kind of sediments in it. So it's just at one other level of precaution.
And it's more comfortable for them because they're nice and moist and wet. And if your hands or the gloves are dry, it can feel uncomfortable to the animal. So it's all about welfare.
Great point.
For our critters.
Great point.
So this is just a travel holder for our Toad. They actually have a home in the back of Kidzone here.
There you go.
Hey, buddy.
So this is Todd. Todd is a marine or a cane toad. And you can see that rough, bumpy skin. I'm going to hold still, Wendy, because you're better with the camera than I am moving him around. And right back here are those poison glands. Right above my thumb are the poison glands of the marine toad. And his glands are so poisonous that he can actually kill a small dog. If a small dog were to bite into him or try to eat him, that bufotoxin can do some serious damage.
And that's his safety feature, basically,
Exactly.
right?
Yep. He's just trying to stay safe. See him closing his eyes, moving things around. This is Todd, a marine toad. Again, one of our animal ambassadors. So he's used to being out and about with people. They're originally from Central and South America. But unfortunately, they get a bad rap. They're really important in their ecosystem where they're from naturally. But people have been moving them around. Little sneeze. People have been moving them around. The most obvious example is when they were taking them to Australia to get rid of a weevil, a beetle. They all just bring in a natural predator, and once all the food's gone, once they eat all the beetles, the frog can't survive anymore. This is years ago now, decades ago. Once the food's gone, by golly, the toad will disappear. Look at the size of this guy. He can eat mice.
Yeah, I feel like once those weevils were gone, they would just find something else to eat.
And that's exactly what happened, Wendy.
Very adaptive.
They just kept finding food, and they kept eating it. So they became an invasive species due to human intervention. They became an invasive species due to human intervention. We took them someplace they shouldn't be, and they had no predators. So, unfortunately, they've caused a lot of damage in Australia. Remember, they're from Central and South America? Get this. You're finding them in Miami, Florida now, too.
Holy moly.
Doing the same thing they did in Australia. They are a voracious predator. They eat anything.
How did they get their name, a cane toad?
Sugar cane. Live in the cane fields.
Oh.
Marine, because a lot of times they're associated with water. They lay, get this, guys, 8,000, 10,000 eggs can a female lay?
In like one...
One grouping, one
Wow.
lay. So think of how many adults will survive. Even if only a handful survive. If all the females are laying that many, whew, got a problem.
That's an insane amount of children.
Right? No parental care beyond the eggs.
So it's on your own
You
afterwards.
can see that neat pattern.
Yeah. And he is just like that skeleton. He is
He's
a
doing
robust
really well.
body.
But this is your marine or your cane toad. Another one of our amphibians. Wanted to share that with you.
Thanks, Todd.
And as Wendy mentioned, it was very nice of you to say that. He does have this awesome travel tote.
He's trying to show you how he hops, Steve. Here, let me help you.
Can you stay down there for a second?
He's like, I liked being on camera.
I like those digital guests. Good ball. This is what looks like on the inside. That was fun. Cane toad, or green toad, 8,000 babies. 8,000 eggs. Are you kidding me?
That is a lot.
With big problems, obviously.
I'm excited to see who else you brought us today. You brought us another friend, didn't you?
I don't remember.
Oh, you're being silly now.
I brought us some of these types of animals. And even kind of one of those. This is a hellbender, by the way.
The largest of the species.
Yeah, one of the largest salamanders in the world. Marbled there, hellbender there, marbled there, red, and a spotted. Those are all models. Those are not real. Those are purchased. So I'm going to do the same thing with another one of my favorite salamanders of all. Named because of what it looks like. We put different gloves on because the animals live in their own homes. We don't want to transfer anything back from one animal to another. Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Maybe. So why take the risk?
It's just like wearing a seatbelt. You might not get into an accident, but it's that one time that you might.
Well said. Everyone's feeling.
And the animal,
fresh.
I know, man. And the animals we're using today, these are our animal ambassadors. So they are not actually out on habitat for people to see. These guys are the ones that travel with us that you might see doing pop-up programs inside the zoo. We take them to schools, hospitals to teach people.
Other word, this guy jumping out. He's not jumping anywhere. This is, now the marine toad you can't find here. This type of salamander, in general, you can find here. There's a lot of different types of this salamander. This salamander is the tiger salamander.
Oh, not that kind of tiger,
No,
right?
No.
I don't know what a salamander noise they make. We did have one person donate $10. Thank you so much.
You. That is awesome.
And you see Steve being gentle. Steve is a large man picking up a very tiny little guy. So we're always very gentle.
Yep. How cool is this guy? Look at that beautiful color. This is a tiger salamander. This is a pretty common color for them. My hands are nice and warm. Just trying to stay in my hand as much as he can. Another predator, another hunter. And he's a good eater. I was lucky enough to work in animal care the other day. This is a good eater.
He's so cute.
See that beautiful face? Reduced eyes. Awesome digger. These guys burrow a foot and a half down. And he's not done growing, guys. He might put on another few inches. He can max out about a foot long. The tiger salamander. We do have tiger salamanders in North Carolina. I like where they breed. They're actually going to be starting to breed in the winter.
Really?
Moist, permeable skin, scaleless, and he's active in the winter. How crazy is that?
You wiped that little moss off his eye there.
Sure.
So there we go. It looked a little funky. There we go. Now we can see your cute face.
There we go. So yeah, salamander, active in the winter, and not the only one. Nothing to keep him warm but himself. And active in the wintertime. And they breed in...
Oh, I know that sound. That means a science word's coming.
ephemeral pools.
Told ya.
Ephemeral pools. Ephemeral. They come and they go. They don't last forever. What might be missing in an ephemeral pool that would encourage the salamander to breed there? What might be missing in a pool that comes and goes that might encourage a salamander, and other animals for that matter, to breed there? When you're breeding, you're laying eggs and you're breeding babies. You sure don't want predators in that pool. So the ephemeral pool doesn't have fish. It goes away.
Because a fish would just eat those eggs really quickly,
right?
right?
You betcha, 100%.
Yeah.
So he's breeding early before the ponds actually dry up, limiting that competition and predators. Smart animals. North Carolina, by the way, the amphibian state of the United States, easily. And there's always an argument with some other states, but the salamander capital of the United States and almost of the world in diversity, in the different types of salamanders.
How many do we have here, Steve?
Over 60.
Oh, wow.
Over 60 different types of salamanders in North Carolina. So go North Carolina. Whoop, whoop.
I don't know why more people don't use salamanders as their mascot. I mean, they're predators. They smile all the time.
They do have a nice little smile, didn't they? We'll give you a little bit of water. Tiger salamander, who knew? One of the most important things to remember about amphibians in general, and I think this is vitally important to remember, they are, oops, I got my bracelet stuck in my hand. They are indicator species. They're a bioindicator, indicator of life. Remember, permeable skin, oxygen taken up through the skin, H2O, water taken up through the skin. So are pollutants.
Yeah, I was going to say, then bad stuff too, right? If the good stuff can get in, so can the bad.
That's why I was asking you to remember the pollutants. Why it's a big deal to have that skin. They're in crisis mode, our salamanders, our toads, our frogs. They need help, guys. Habitat loss, chytrid fungus, climate change. Chytrid fungus, man, it's always around, but as the climate is changing, you're seeing it pop up in locations you've never seen it before, and it causes Catridiomycosis. Chytrid fungus can cause that really big long word. What it does is it thickens the skin of the frog or the salamander. It thickens it. And remember, they're taking up air, oxygen, and water from that skin. If they can't do it anymore, they can die. They can pass away just because of a fungus that we're seeing more and more of because of climate change. Okay, so climate change is a big issue. We need to reduce our use of fossil fuels. We need to limit the carbon dioxide being put in the atmosphere. That carbon dioxide is actually trapping heat from the sun. The heat usually escapes. It can't. So that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere acts like a heat-trapping blanket, literally trapping the Earth's heat that can't escape, causing a lot of changes to the environment, especially animals like amphibians that are so susceptible to tiny changes in temperature, presence of water, and pollutants. So, things like this. Our friend Bob Langston shares this with us.
Are those cigarette butts?
That's exactly what they are, Wendy. He and a team of his friends gathered these over a 90-minute period. He's estimating 7,000 cigarette butts.
So this was literally in an hour and a half they picked up this many cigarette butts.
Off the roads of Asheboro, North Carolina.
Wow, that's a lot.
And each one of these cigarette butts has a plastic filament in it to capture all those poisons, all those toxins, as people are smoking them. And if you just pitch it away, it gets on the ground, rain falls, hits that cigarette butt. What happens to the toxins inside the cigarette butt?
That leaches out, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And even I've seen people put them in gutters, in streams.
Yep.
So that's an even quicker way to get into the waterways.
Yep. So amphibians, as those bioindicators, are taking up those toxins in their skin when they take up water as well. So bioindicator, if they're present, they're indicating something about the habitat. If they're absent, they're indicating something about their habitat.
So say you hear frogs off your back deck and you have a stream behind your house or a water, a lake or something, and you hear those frogs for many years, and then, we have ambiance.
So keep going.
So you hear those frogs every summer, every spring, and then one day you don't. That's probably telling you something is wrong with that water, right?
Exactly. So if something has changed, that means the habitat has changed. And as the harbinger of spring, we don't have them anymore. Our culture can be impacted. Our harbinger of springs are gone. The medicine that they're being studied for because of properties in their skin and their toxins is gone.
Well, and to think about all the insects and bugs and invertebrates that they eat on a daily basis,
important on pest control.
then those are just going to be increasing over time as well.
I just wanted to share a couple of these new calls. You've probably heard this before. Finger running down a poem, the chorus frog. Everybody's favorite.
I know that one.
So let's do everything we can to protect the environment. Let's do everything we can to keep toxins out of the waters. Air is a little tougher, but we can do the water. You and I can do the water. Don't just dump oils. Don't just put things in the water. Because the water is literally, they live in that environment. And we are smart. We know those changes, how those actions impact those habitats. So let's not do that. Let's be very, very careful in our ecosystems. 1/3 to 1/2 of all amphibians are at risk of going extinct.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, 8,200.
I think when we think about the big mega animals, elephants, rhinos, we get really disturbed about those numbers, but I think a lot of people overlook the really small animals like the amphibians. Those numbers are huge, and we should be working to save those just as much as we would an elephant or a rhino.
Exactly. That's a great point. Because the small animals are a lot of times where the food chains and food webs begin.
Yeah.
And as you begin to lose those, the snowball can happen in a hurry. So although we're kind of behind a little bit the curve, I know that we can make a difference. We sometimes just need to hear that it makes a difference. And those little small actions that you can make a difference. So I can't wait to learn what you guys are going to do to make a difference for the frogs, the toads, salamanders, Sicilians, and all the other animals out there. That just by making those small changes, you can help wildlife. Awesome. All right, guys. I think it's going to wrap us up.
We have Nikki's craft that is so adorable, I can barely stand it.
Thank you very much. That's why Wendy is here, to help me remember the craft.
I'm the human wrangler.
You're the human wrangler?
The Steve Wrangler.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, come on, look at this. It's made out of rocks.
They're frocks.
Frocks.
They're frocks.
Or trocks. Or torox. I don't know. I should have thought about that before I tried to land a joke that's not even funny on live.
There's a frog and a toad.
Look how cute.
There's
Those are just rocks that you can paint at home. I mean,
a tebble.
A tebble. A Frebel?
A Frebel? We still need a toad, though.
We used beads. She used beads for eyes on this one. It looked like smaller rocks for eyes on this one. Some glue, paint, markers, whatever you can find. And she just used construction paper.
And frogs are
as lily pads.
You can do a little bit of research. Oh, that's lily pads, yeah. Do a little bit of research, make your own frog or toad. Can you imagine putting a frog or toad in the Arctic? What's a frog called? The wood frog? The wood frog? Freezes solid, then thaws in the springtime. Freezes solid.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that was possible.
Rana sylvatica, unless the scientific name has changed. One of the few scientific names yours truly knows. But yeah, the wood frog is one of the farthest north living amphibians in the world. Can literally freeze solid.
That is so cool.
Check.
All right. What a good way to end Monday with a fun fact.
There you go. All right, guys. So amphibians, ectothermic, moist, slimy skin. That's where it's permeable. Oxygen, air, and the water's passing through it. They do have a little bit of a challenge, so we need to make a big difference. We met the cane toad. We met a tiger salamander as well. You heard why they're important and some of the reasons we need to be careful with what we do in habitat and ecosystems. Wednesday is going to be a taped episode, and it will be, I forget.
It's training, but we go out in the plains, and we literally get like boop the snoot close to the kudu. Like the kudu basically licks the camera.
So check that out, and you get to learn some really cool things about some of the training going on here at North Carolina Zoo with a prey species, an animal that is chased by other animals. So that being said, I think we're all done. Thanks again, guys. Stay safe. Keep checking the website. The zoo is open. Timed tickets. Order online. If you can't get through, keep trying, guys. I know for a fact that office is ridiculously busy. So keep trying, or leave a message. So the folks working in that office will get back to you. We can't wait to see you at the North Carolina Zoo. Enjoy your week. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.